In this video, I want to share with you my best tips for really elevating your bedroom. Let's start with the most important design element in this space, and that is, of course, your bed. Styling your bed beautifully is paramount to creating a bedroom that feels finished and beautifully curated. And understandably so, it is typically the focal point of the space. Now, all of us make our beds and we often have decorative pillows. Today I want to share with you my favorite way to beautifully style the bed. And what I want to stress is that pillows are, of course, very important, but what's equally important is including a beautiful bedspread. That is one step that I often see overlooked, and it's really important because it adds that very important finishing layer to your bed. Bed is a really vast expanse of kind of uniform fabric when you look at your bedding. And adding that bedspread adds a beautiful layer that helps break up that vast expanse and just makes the overall bed vignette feel much more finished. In a moment, I'm going to share with you my favorite types of bedspreads, but for now, let's focus on the pillows. These days, I approach decorative pillows in a more contemporary, minimalist way. I don't pile up too many of them. In fact, I like to use two regular pillows. I typically lean them against the headboard, and then I put two lumber pillows in front of them. For your king bed, these lumbers will typically be 26 by 14. If you're working with a queen bed, 22 by 14 will typically do the trick. If I want to introduce a little more interest into this vignette, in particular if other elements in my bedroom are a little more understated, I may also place a long lumber pillow in front of these two. And this one here, for example, is 36 by 12. Another even more contemporary approach that I've been playing with lately is using a singular lumber that goes across the bed. This one here is 54 by 14. Here's a little tip for you. If you can't find these exact dimensions, you should be able to request a workroom to cut down pillow forms for you. So get a standard pillow form that's larger and cut it down to this size. If you don't have a workroom, many sellers on platforms like Etsy will customize forms for you and also customize pillowcases. You just have to ask. Now, in terms of color and pattern for your pillows, if the rest of my bedroom is more understated, more neutral, like for example my bedroom here where the drapes, the rug, the bed itself are all tone on tone, I will use this opportunity to inject some subtle color and or pattern into the room. However, if there are other interesting elements in the room that I want to draw my attention to, I will leave the bedding more understated. For example, in this room, the focal point is the mural, so I wanted to downplay the bedding itself. It still adds visual texture without taking away from the mural. As for the bedspread, my favorite way to approach this is to use a comforter. Typically, a quilted comforter is something like linen or Belgian linen. It adds beautiful visual texture to the space and again breaks up that vast expanse of the bed. I often use it in, again, neutral, almost tone-on-tone colors, but you can certainly use this as an opportunity to inject a little more contrast as well. My next tip is to, whenever possible, whenever space allows, use a bench at the foot of your bed. Our bedrooms, unlike, for example, living rooms, are typically a little more sparse in terms of how many pieces of furniture and decor we have. So adding a bench at the foot of the bed really helps add a beautiful layer to the overall bedroom. It's also a great opportunity to inject a subtle pop of color or pattern, and it constitutes a great surface for styling. Here's a tip for you. If you see your bench as one of the first elements when you enter the room, I recommend taking some time to style it beautifully. My favorite way to style a bench is actually with books. This could be coffee table books, this could be your everyday books that you love to read, but it's a wonderful way to inject a lot of interest and create a lot of visual texture. Of course, you can also use other elements. For example, in this beautiful bedroom, Josh Young used this lovely tea set on one side of the bench. Now, if your bedroom is not very large and you're worried about whether you have enough floor space for a bench, do keep clearances in mind. To be able to walk comfortably, we need about 36 inches of space. So between your wall and your bench, you should have about 36 inches. You can cheat a little bit by a couple of inches, especially if that passage is not very long, but that's a general guideline. Next up are window treatments. I feel that window treatments are particularly important in the bedroom because if there is any room in the house that needs to feel really cozy and really inviting, it is the bedroom. I'm particularly fond of drapery in the bedroom because the volume of fabric really adds that beautifully inviting warm layer. And also because, especially in more traditional homes, bedrooms don't have very large windows typically, and drapes really help visually augment the window. So for example, if you look at my bedroom, you see that my windows are relatively narrow, but by adding 2 panels to the sides, I'm able to really visually augment these windows and give them much more importance. And I love drapes for both windows that are on walls that are either perpendicular or parallel to my bed wall, but also if I have a window behind my bed, like in my bedroom, for example, again, adding these panels on both sides really help me augment the window and create a beautiful backdrop for the bed. I will also use drapes if your bed sits between 2 narrow windows. Adding drapery to those windows gives them much more importance and really helps make this vignette much warmer and much more welcoming. My next trick is to invest in a properly sized rug. And again, this has to do with that feeling of coziness and warmth that we want in our bedroom. If you have a king-size bed, a 9 by 12 rug will typically do the trick. We want your rug to extend about 18 inches on both sides of the bed, and this will also give you enough room to put a bench at the foot of the bed. I typically place my rug in front of the nightstand, so the legs of the nightstands don't need to sit on it. My next tip is to pay close attention to your walls and wall decor. If you saw my video about elevating your living room, you know I'm a big fan of art. I feel it's really important to pay attention to wall decor because it is our walls that are in our direct line of sight when you walk into the room. When you think about it, your furniture takes up only about 1/3 of the room's height. In the bedroom it is a little bit more with the headboard, but the bed itself, the mattress, the dresser, the nightstands typically sit quite low. So what you actually see is the walls. If you leave them bare, your room will never feel really finished. And this is particularly important in the bedroom where our furnishings are again more sparse than they are in, for example, the living room. Now, of course, you can hang art on any wall in the bedroom, but it is the bed vignette that's particularly important because that is typically the focal point of the bedroom. Here are a few tips for using art over your bed. Lately, I've been using a lot of murals in my bedrooms. I find that they're a wonderful way to add a lot of interest into the space and really elevate that focal point. I like to frame them in picture molding for added interest. So that's one relatively easy, very impactful idea for art behind your bed. If I do hang a regular framed art, I will use a larger piece if I have other elements nearby to balance out that height. So for example, if my bed sits between 2 windows, hanging a larger piece of art makes sense because the windows balance it out. If I don't have those vertical elements to balance out a piece of art over the bed, I find that using a larger piece typically creates a visual column that is not balanced out by anywhere else. So I try to avoid it. Instead, I like to use smaller prints in multiples, so I can do 2, 3, or even 5 prints above the headboard. And I actually really like when they spill over a little bit beyond the edges of the headboard to create a really full vignette. If you enjoy these tips, I encourage you to check out my Styling Essentials Masterclass. That's where I share a lot more tips on how to elevate your bedroom and other rooms in your home. I've included more information and a link to subscribe in the description. I'll see you next time.